from the All Indiana Podcast Network.
It's time for real conversation about the real issues that affect our communities.
Poverty, education, equality, and more.
This is Real Talk.
Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network. I am Reverend Charles Harrison with my co-host, Reverend Terry Webster Sr. And on this episode today, we're going to talk about the recent murder in this city of 16-year-old Serenity Wilson. We're going to have a commentary on that today on this podcast, Real Talk. Welcome to Real Talk on the All Indiana Podcast Network, and I am Reverend Charles Harrison, along with my co-host, Reverend Terry Webster Sr. How you doing, Pastor Webster?
Hey, man, I'm good, Pastor Harrison. You know, he died on Friday, but he'll get up Sunday morning.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Friday's
sir.
always good.
Amen. Amen. We're going to talk today about the homicide on Monday night of Serenity Wilson, 16 years old. What really, and I did not know this at the time, but, you know, as I was reading about her, she turned 16 in December of last year. Well, my daughter turned 16 in December of last year, Jalen. I was talking to my daughter, Jalen, about it, and she said, Daddy, she said on her Instagram post, she posted that she turned 16 on the same day I turned 16, which is December the 12th.
Wow. And
I said, Jayla, I don't know if December the 12th was the day she was born, but if she was, that means that you and her were born in 2006 on December 12th. You're the same age, born on the same day. And Pastor Webster, that really stuck with me. Mm-hmm. As I thought about Serenity's death, I had to really catch myself because I was becoming angry. Okay. I was becoming angry because I thought that this could have been my daughter that I allowed to go to a block party, and in the midst of something that the neighborhood was trying to do good, something evil and wicked happened. Shots rang out, several people were shot, and a 16-year-old was killed. Now, what really made me mad was I felt like that elected officials, clergy like me and you, community leaders, had let the family down because we were silent.
Okay.
I thought for once, with all of the young people who have been killed this year, when are we going to say something about this carnage in our community and our young people dying? And maybe it hit me harder because I have a 16-year-old daughter, have a 17-year-old son, my two youngest children. And I just felt like that if they would have been killed, it would have been another story that the news media would have covered for 1 or 2 days. Then we would have moved on to the next story. And people would have felt sorry for me that my child was killed, but their life would have moved on. We'd have moved on to the next story. The way things are going, probably never would have been solved. And then many of these families are still fighting for justice and closure. And what I was thinking, Pastor Webster, if the black community is not going to say anything about it, who is?
All right.
If we're not going to be outraged and angry about it, then who is? If Serenity would have been killed by a white police officer or a police officer, there probably would have been outrage in the community. But why is there silence when we kill each other and one of our babies is now dead? So that's what I've been feeling. I've been angry about it. I'm still troubled about it. I know tonight there's going to be a balloon release, but I want more done because it just keeps happening. Stephanie, one of the 10-point coalition workers, buried her 19-year-old grandson yesterday. And as I was there at Friendship Baptist Church, the family's taking it hard, and said to me, they're going to need counseling after this because this is hard for them to deal with. And this is the pain that people like me and you deal with these families. And it goes on and on and on. And I just thought, man, you know, as a pastor, when I deal with someone who's grieving the loss of a loved one, when I'm there, I can't do nothing to change what has happened. But my presence there says to the family that I care, that pastor's here with us, praying for us. He's here with us, and it helps bring some level of comfort. I'm not for sure we're providing any kind of level of comfort for parents today who are losing their children to this senseless violence. So Pastor, that's where I am, and I just wanted to go there, and that's how I feel today.
Yeah, you know, and rightfully so. It's today, you know, I've been at several tables where several people have said, I don't know what to do. And this is from the judicial system to the leaders in our community. Actually, you and I was at a table last month before last, with law enforcement. They're crying out the same thing. Now we know what to do. One of the things I know we got to continue to do is hold out the lifeline of the gospel of truth. We cannot abandon the gospel of truth for nothing.
Right.
So that you keep doing, Reverend Harrison. I don't feel, me personally, that clergy, not all clergy has let the community down. I think that most of us in our respective places are addressing crime. We're addressing violence from a clergy perspective. I still think that if there's legislation that need to be had, it should be. But I also think, again, I keep putting the onus back on parents. We have a young parent problem. I just think that, honestly, we got to continue to do what we do, and that's pray and preach, and then allow those who lead our city, state, call them into conversation on what we can do as faith-based community. What else can we do to help? That's my thought.
Well, help me understand it. Pastor Webster and I are good friends.
Yeah.
We're good friends. I don't understand how we can call a press conference as clergy for some of the things that we call them for, sometimes against each other.
Yeah.
But yet when our children are dying on the street, we say nothing.
Yeah, how come there's no outcry?
And that's where I'm having the most difficult time with, not that clergy are not doing something in the areas of the city where they're pastoring, you know, and where they're doing the work.
Okay.
But there is no outcry from us. And if the black community is not going to have an outcry against the violence like we do against police injustice.
So, Reverend Harrison, what do you think the outcry should look like?
I think us clergy should have held a press conference over there the next day where that happened, and said to the community that this is intolerable and cannot be accepted. We cannot accept this, and we need to bring to justice those who are responsible for it.
I do agree, but you also have to know, since we're talking about our community, you also have to know that the moment you or I call a press conference, then here we go again with some of the same critics in our community talking about, there they go again.
Yes.
We're gonna get those same critics on social media. There go those clerks. So sometimes we try to stand by just to see if someone else gonna do something.
And that's what we did. I think for the last 8 years, I've been sitting back waiting because of the criticism. Well, if you don't want us to do it,
Right.
then you do it.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to do it, then we're going to do it again. And if you're not going to do it, to me, you're being hypocritical. So if you don't want our voices out there, then your voice gets out there and you make the outcry for the injustices that are happening in our community. No black child should have to fear going to any event in this city and their life be taken from them and that be acceptable in our community, and we say nothing.
No, it shouldn't. And so we have to, again, come with law enforcement and ask law enforcement, do you all have beads on these young guys who are these young perpetrators? We got to, again, say to law enforcement, we're here to help you.
Right.
And ask them, how do we help?
Right. Because that's part of some of the conversation I've had with former IMPD officers. There used to be a time, Pastor Webster, when that kind of horrific event occurred, that calls would have been made out that night to clergy and community leaders, and we would have gathered there talking with the families of those who were involved, because there were several people shot. Unfortunately, Serenity was killed. And people in the neighborhood who tend to sometimes not talk to police, but maybe they will talk to you, Pastor Webster. Maybe somebody who is out there is connected to someone in your church or know you personally and may have shared with you what they knew, who was involved, what had happened. Those kind of things are not happening anymore like they used to when the city of Indianapolis had an 80% clearance rate. When 8 out of 10 homicides that occurred in this city, there was a conviction.
I think we got to get back to that.
I agree. We do have to get back to that.
And how we get back there, I think we address leadership. We talk about we point to history and what was proven in the past, and it still works now. And then we put the clarion call out there for young, old, middle age, and all to join us. Yeah,
because Daryl Pierce, who was the assistant police chief at the time, and Bill Benjamin, who was deputy chief of investigations, they were the ones that made the calls. And there was a group that was formed called Community Clergy. I think Reverend Ellis, the late Reverend Ellis, kind of headed that up. And former Deputy Mayor Olgin Williams, and that call would go out, and there would be lots of us there. And before we left, Pastor Webster, sometime we knew the names of those involved.
So I think, Pastor Harrison, there's certainly nothing wrong with duplicating what worked in the past.
Right.
What worked in the past, nothing wrong with it. Bring some of these same people to the table.
Yes.
Because it affects all of us.
Yes.
It affects all of us, and we all are affected. Next week, it could be your 16-year-old.
That's right. That's right.
It could be my grandson. And
right.
So I think we had to go back, have those conversations, and duplicate them.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why.
Duplicate them.
Yeah. For those who may be listening, this is Real Talk with Reverend Terry Webster Sr. And Reverend Charles Harrison. And we're talking about the recent homicide this past week, I think Monday night, of Serenity Wilson, a 16-year-old, who was shot and killed at a block party at 34th and Forest Manor down to 32nd and Forest Manor. Lots of shots were fired. I think even one of the stray bullets hit one of the churches down in that area. I think it's the Church of Glory, where Pastor Edwards Jr. is, the pastor of that church. And she was killed. And I raised and did something on social media, on Twitter, expressing my frustration. I was really, really frustrated by that one. Yeah, I was really frustrated by it. Really perturbed, and I kind of called us all out.
Yeah,
I kind of called us all out because I just think that we used to do more. More can be done, and I don't want to hear about these other press conferences that, to me, don't address the problem that we're having. We have a problem. I'm scared to death to let my children go to certain places, and that shouldn't be.
So, Reverend Harrison, it's not just here in the same thread and in the same vein. Philadelphia, Baltimore,
Right.
right in the same vein, had the block shooting.
Right.
2 people killed there. Philadelphia, they went in and sprayed over the holiday. So it's not just here.
Right.
It's how do we talk about and how do we address the problem here? I just don't think I think we got a national problem.
Well, we do, but I don't think we want to be honest in the black community about this national problem.
Yes, we got to be honest.
And I've said this: if Black Lives Matter, if that was a movement that we had in this country, does it not include all Black lives?
Yeah.
And we are 12% of the population, but we're 50% or more of the homicide victims every year in this country. Something is wrong. Something is wrong where in every major city, I think Fort Worth, Texas, there may have been 4 people killed over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, in every major city, in black communities, we're seeing this level of violence that is disproportionately impacting our children.
Yes.
Children are being killed. Adolescents, teens, young adults are being killed at an alarming rate.
Well, my wife was telling me last night when she got home, that I think out here in Cumberland, Indiana,
Yes.
where the young kid, the young baby,
Yes.
really got the gun. Guardian walked out the room. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did.
Guardian walked out the room and shot the young kid. Went in the drawer, got the gun and shot the other kid.
Yes,
So, we just got problems that we got to address.
Yes.
And we got to address them from leadership, those who wanting to be in leadership.
Yes.
We got a new election coming up here for mayor. We need to get with Mr. Shreve and ask him what's your vision. We need to ask the mayor, our current mayor, what's your vision? We need to work with legislation. We need to work with parents and say to the parents, y'all got to help us. We got to come together with church. People are banking on the community not being able to come together.
Well,
I believe we can.
Yeah, but they are.
I believe we can.
But we had 2 people killed in Broad Ripple. And people are trying to understand this.
Yeah.
Why did we have 2 or 3 press conferences in Broad Ripple, but we have people killed in Hallville, I think 2 women, no press conference? We've had a 19-year-old boy killed on the west side, no press conference. Serenity Wilson, 16 years old, no press conference. People are having hard time understanding why some places and not others. When there's violence in white areas, we hold press conferences. When there's violence in black areas, we don't hold press conferences because it may not be the intent, but it's what it looks like.
Right. It may not be the intent, actually, right. You're absolutely right. It may not be intent, but as someone has said, I don't believe perception all the time is everything, but some people say perception is reality.
Yes.
So the perception is that if you're having press conferences in Broad Ripple, how come you can't have them in Hallville now? And that is the leadership. That is IMPD. That is the mayor.
Yes.
If you're having press conferences in one place, you ought to have them another place.
Yes.
In all fairness.
Yes.
Now, I do believe that Elgin Williams and Pastor Ronald Covington, I did hear that they had a press conference Monday for the shooting that was on, I think it was Arnola. There was a shooting out there. So I did hear that they did have a press conference.
They had a press conference also to raise concerns about the lack of resources in Hallville.
Okay.
And the fact that there was no kind of press conference in Hallville like there was in Broad Ripple.
Okay, so that was the premises of the press conference.
Yes, that was the premises of the press conference. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so that's what I mean, Pastor Harrison. I think that we all got to come together and be on the same page with a strategic plan to help our community and to rid our communities of this cancer of violence. I think it takes all of us.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And I think we have to, I don't know what can be done now concerning Serenity Wilson. I do think I keep track of all the young people that have been killed. in the last 10 years. Most of those, Pastor Webster, those homicides have not been solved.
By the way, I did hear, my wife was telling me, I did hear that Serenity was an honor roll student.
She was. That's what I'm saying.
My wife was telling me that.
She's an honor roll student, bright, beautiful young lady, and now she's dead.
So for lack of a better word, Lil Pookie needs to be held accountable.
Yes, he needs to be held accountable.
We need to run Lil Pookie down, hold him accountable,
Yes.
and if he's underage, hold his parents accountable.
Yeah.
This is what we got to get back to.
Yeah. Certainly. This cannot be allowed, and whoever was involved, if it's one person, two person, three people, we have to hold them accountable, and that's what I think. The leadership in our community needs to say, this is unacceptable.
It's unacceptable.
We cannot have a block party and you shoot it up and you kill one of our best and brightest young people.
Right. We got to be able to say to our community, we have to be able to say it, whether it's press conference, whether it's town halls, we got to be able to say to our community, we're not going to take this.
Right. Absolutely.
And we got to be able to tell those who are going to come at us on social media, hey, look, if y'all ain't going to join us, stop talking about it.
Yes, that's right.
And then we have to be able to say, get answers from leadership downtown and leadership at the State House. We need to get answers from them, get them on board.
Yes.
If the perception is you held a press conference out in Broward, but what's up with that?
Yes.
If there are resources that need to be had that Hallville is not getting, and they're channeled somewhere else, how come?
You know,
we need to be honest.
Yeah, we
got
do.
to have an honest conversation.
We do.
Because you and I don't have anything to lose
Yes.
with the political powers to be.
Right.
I know who I am. I
Right.
know what my purpose is.
I agree with you. You know, one of the things I say about, the young mayor in Baltimore, he's at every homicide scene.
I saw that.
At every homicide scene. I think sometimes,
and something else he said too.
Yes, sir.
At the holiday shooting, he said, if you sitting here thinking that this is just a Baltimore problem, he said it's not.
That's
he
true.
said it's a national problem.
It is. It's a national problem, and it's going to require a national response to it, because the same thing is going on everywhere. It's going on everywhere, and we cannot tolerate our neighborhoods becoming the Wild Wild West. And that's what it is. They're the Wild Wild West now, and these kids have no shame about pulling out their guns or assault rifles and shooting up an area.
And so, Pastor Harrison, if people think that they are tired of seeing us, we need to make them even the more.
Right.
And raise our voices against these senseless acts in our own community.
Right.
This is terrorist acts on ourselves.
Amen.
We're committing terrorist acts on our own selves.
That's right.
And so we have to be able to say that.
Right.
And then offer, hey, how do we come together and walk lockstep?
This is a true saying. A true story I'm telling. I was in Carriage House East Apartments last week. True. Tuesday night, I was there with some of the OGs. We went around to the back part of the apartment complex, and there was a group of about 7 young men, 1 woman. They seen the OGs coming. They got in their cars and left. I said, isn't that amazing? Mm-hmm. But the reputation that they have, Terry, them young guys got out of there. That's what I see. And
that's what 10 Point has always been known for. Let's just talk it real.
Yes.
We got those kind of results years ago.
Right.
Under your Bill Benjamins.
Right.
And under your Chief Heights.
Yes.
We got those kind of results. And we're not putting nobody down. We're not downplaying no one. We're saying, how do we come together with conversation to save our community? First of all, you do it with the gospel. That's our first.
Right.
God didn't. I'm for the police. We're with the police, but God didn't call me to get out there in the streets.
Right.
My purpose is to preach the salvation of Jesus Christ.
Right.
But
Right.
I also want to help
Right.
with those who are on the front line.
Right.
So we need to have conversation around how do we go back and get
Right.
back
Right.
to measurable results like that.
Yeah, and that's what we have to. We have to. I felt like we should have saturated that neighborhood where Serenity was killed that next day. We should have saturated, and maybe we would have heard something about who killed that young lady, and maybe by now we would have had those responsible behind bars. And that's just my concern. I just think that we got to say something, because there's going to be a next time. There's going to be a next person that's coming.
Absolutely.
That's coming.
That
That's
might
coming.
be this weekend.
Yeah, it could be this weekend. And we have to not become numb to it. And I think we're becoming numb to it because it's happening so frequently now that enough is enough.
Well, Pastor Harrison, for one thing, that's why God has called you. Yes, your purpose is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, but you've been passionate about this for a long time.
Right.
You've been passionate about it, and so God, you're the prophet for it. So God has called you to it. So you just got to raise your voice, and we got to come alongside of you and help you to continue to raise your voice, support you in this street battle against wickedness and evil.
Amen. This has been Terry Webster Sr. and Reverend Charles Harrison, and we have been talking about the violence in Indianapolis, and particularly Serenity Wilson. Tonight, which is Friday, July the 7th, they're having a balloon release for her at the Church of Glory at 3247 Forest Manor Avenue tonight. So those who are listening to this podcast, we want to invite you to that. And we want you to know that we're going to continue to fight this battle, and we're not going to give up, and we're going to do all we can to make this city a safer and a better place for all of our children and our grandchildren, so that they don't have to worry about that.
So listen, and I appreciate that. And the reason why we want to continue to fight the battle, Reverend, it just dawned on me again. The reason why we want to fight this battle, regardless of what people are saying negative,
right.
Social media is saying negative, because next week it could be your daughter.
That's right.
It could be my grandkids, my son, my daughter. So we're going to continue to fight the fight regardless.
Yes. Amen. Thank you so much for joining us today on Real Talk, as we bring more real talk about real issues that affect our communities here in Indianapolis, and, as you have heard us today, across the country. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share it on Facebook and Twitter. This is Reverend Terry Webster Sr. and Reverend Charles Harrison. We wish you an awesome and blessed day.
This is Real Talk with Reverend Charles Harrison.
Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast.
And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Online now at allindianapodcast.com.